The first rays of morning sunlight filtered through the cracked blinds of the old service station when the world around Kieran Hale shifted forever. Moments earlier, everything had seemed painfully ordinary. He was just a single dad wiping grease from his hands after a long night shift. But the sound he heard outside, the faint sobbing of a child followed by a weak cough, snapped him out of his exhaustion. What he found behind the dumpster would not only test his heart but redefine his future. If you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Tales. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. The little boy was no older than 7, wrapped in a tattered jacket far too thin for the cold morning air. Beside him, leaning against the wall, was a frail elderly woman whose face reflected both pain and dignity. Kieran felt something stir inside him, a familiar ache. He knew what fear looked like, what hunger felt like, and what being abandoned by the world did to a soul. He had lived all of it after losing his wife and raising his spirited daughter, Maren, alone. He crouched beside them, trying not to startle the boy. The child immediately shielded the woman with his tiny body, a gesture that broke Kieran's heart in ways he didn't expect. Their names were Milo and his grandmother, Asha. Their story, delivered in trembles and pauses, was one of lost hope. They had traveled from town to town after their home burned down, surviving on scraps and the kindness of strangers, until kindness ran out. Asha's health had deteriorated quickly, and now they had nowhere left to go. Without a second thought, Kieran lifted the weak woman in his arms and guided Milo into the warmth of the service station office. Maren, just 11 but wise beyond her years, immediately set out blankets and turned on the small heater. Watching his daughter offer Milo a granola bar and a shy smile made Kieran's chest tighten with pride. He didn't have much, but what he did have he shared. The hours that followed were full of phone calls to clinics, whispered reassurances, and silent prayers. Asha refused to go to the hospital, insisting she had no documents or money. But Kieran gently insisted, telling her that some things were worth fighting for, especially people who'd been forgotten. He drove them in his beat-up pickup through the bright morning streets, sun glinting off buildings while Milo clung to Asha's hand in the back seat. Doctors confirmed what Kieran feared. Asha was dehydrated, weak, and severely anemic, but with treatment, she could recover. As she rested, Milo curled against Kieran on the stiff hospital bench, eyes heavy but safe for the first time in weeks. Kieran brushed the boy's hair from his face and felt a strange sense of responsibility settle into his bones. He had walked through darkness too, and maybe this was his turn to bring someone else into the light. When they returned home later that day, Maren had prepared a small corner of their living room with cushions, blankets, and an old lamp. She proudly announced it was Grandma Asha and Milo's space. Kieran felt tears burn behind his eyes. Loss had shaped him, but kindness learned from the woman he once loved, had shaped his daughter. The next morning dawned warm and golden. Birds sang, neighbors swept sidewalks, and sunlight painted soft streaks across Kieran's faded curtains. It felt like a peaceful start, the kind he didn't get often. He brewed tea for Asha while Milo and Maren doodled on scraps of paper. Asha's smile, though tired, was grateful, and she squeezed Kieran's hand as if trying to convey 1,000 unspoken words. But the moment was shattered by the deep rumble of an engine outside. A sleek black SUV rolled to a stop in front of Kieran's small house, its glossy surface reflecting the morning sun like a warning. The doors opened, and 2 men in formal suits stepped out. Milo froze. Asha's cup rattled in her trembling hands. Maren instinctively moved in front of them, and Kieran's heart began to pound. The tallest man approached the steps slowly, raising a hand in peace. His name was Rafe Torin, Asha's estranged son and Milo's uncle. He explained that he had been searching for them for weeks. After years of family conflict, he had returned home, determined to rebuild bridges. But by then, Asha and Milo had disappeared. He looked exhausted, almost desperate. Rafe's voice broke as he apologized to his mother and nephew from the foot of the stairs, begging them to give him another chance. Asha's frail eyes filled with tears. Milo clung to her, unsure of whether to run or trust. Kieran knelt beside them, reminding Milo gently that sometimes people changed. Sometimes life offered returns just as powerful as losses. Asha asked Rafe to come up. The reunion was emotional, raw, imperfect, but real. They held each other, tears falling like soft rain on a sunny day. Rafe vowed to take full responsibility for them, starting with proper health care, a safe home, and a new beginning. Then he turned to Kieran, gripping his hand firmly. He said he would never forget what Kieran had done, that not many people would take in strangers with nothing to gain, and that such kindness deserved to be honored. He didn't offer money. Instead, he offered opportunity. Rafe owned a local repair chain and wanted Kieran to manage one of the branches. Steady income, benefits, a future. For Kieran, who'd worked long nights with no security, it felt unreal, but Rafe insisted. He said men like Kieran were the backbone of the world, quiet heroes helping people without expecting headlines or thanks. By the time the SUV left, Asha and Milo were safe, hopeful, and finally reunited with family. And Kieran, watching Marin wave to Milo from the porch, felt something warm bloom in his chest. Maybe fate rewarded kindness after all. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support truly helps these stories live. Before we end, please drop a comment with just one word describing what kindness means to you. And with that, Kieran Hale stepped back into the golden daylight with a grateful heart, knowing that sometimes the smallest choices change the biggest destinies.